Hey, this is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven. And today I want to debunk for you is probably the biggest lie about social media. So here we go. Hey, this is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven. And this edition of Growth Driven is about debunking probably one of the biggest lies about social media is that it's free. I just got off the phone with a very good friend of mine who lives in central England. His name is Jazz Greer, and I'm having him on my show tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. It'll be 5 p.m. his time in England. And in preparation for the show, we were talking about a number of factors. In fact, Jazz and I have worked together on a number of projects, social media projects, content marketing for about 5 years. And it was so funny because we both have come to the same conclusion with a lot of people who are trying to leverage social media, which is they're trying to do it and be effective at it while spending no money. And the fact of the matter is you're going to have to spend money with social media if you want to be effective. My partner and I probably spend upwards about $2,000 per month just on content creation, content distribution, platforms, and actually repurposing the content. So between the platforms, getting people to help us, pushing it out there, this isn't just the advertising costs. This is just production costs is about $2,000 a month. So what you see here on Growth Driven will be uploaded to YouTube. It will be optimized. I'm going to add artwork called the thumbnail. I'm going to push it out as a podcast. You may listen to this later on as a podcast if you're subscribing to Growth Driven as a podcast. We're going to turn it into a blog post. We're going to turn it into quotes. We're going to turn it into social shares over and over and over. And we're going to have a staff and a team of people help us repurpose this content to be effective at social media. That costs us money. Now, I'm spending $2,000 a month just to build my brand, Growth Driven. $2,000 a month. That's outside of any money that I spend on advertising. And the idea that somebody is going to grow for free, and Jazz and I were talking about this, about people who, they're posting on social media, they're talking about themselves on social media, and you ask them how much business they've actually generated, and it's not a lot. And you go, well, what are you spending to really create quality content? What are you spending to repurpose that content? What are you spending? They're spending time, and they don't see that their time is actually just as valuable as money. So in actual fact, if you're spending time, you are spending money. You're spending your money that you're not making. And if you're not getting a return on investment, social media seems to be a waste of time. If you do social media correctly, which is doing your homework, finding out what content is going to work, how to distribute that content across an omni-channel approach, meaning I'm going to put it across multiple channels. I'm not just going to create a live video on Facebook, but I'm going to make sure that it's on YouTube. I'm going to make sure that that video is optimized to be found in YouTube. I'm going to make sure that that YouTube video is shared over the next 2 years, dozens of times across multiple platforms, across email, in addition to growing my email database on a daily basis by having team members reach out for me on a daily basis across social media to grow my audience and to grow my lists. And all of that is in addition to the actual paid advertising that we do across social media, retargeting. So if you've got this idea that you're just going to post stuff for free and you're going to grow your brand, I want you to come to present time. And let me just tell you an interesting analogy or a historical precedence. My parents owned a number of businesses in the 70s and 80s. And back then, when you started a business, it was not uncommon. It wasn't considered a radical idea to take out a yellow page ad as well as place ads in your local paper. You started a business, you placed, if you were a plumber or a travel agent or insurance broker, back then the social media of the day was the yellow pages. That's how you got your business found. And back in the 80s, we were spending between $1,000 and $1,500 a month on yellow page ads, and we would spend $500 to $600 per week in ads in the Orange County Register. We were spending $3,000 to $4,000 a month on advertising, $3,000 to $4,000 a month in 1982 dollars. What's $3,000 to $4,000 in 1982 worth now? 10 grand, 12 grand? But now you go, hey, let's spend an equivalent amount, even just 3,000 to 4,000 on your business as we would back in the 1980s. And people think it's ridiculous. Spend $3,000 on social media? It's funny, we're spending $3,000 a month on television ads and radio ads and billboards and all that in the 80s. Somewhere along the line, this idea that social media was this cheap resource that allowed us to escape the reality that we had to invest money to grow our brand is a huge lie. Now, maybe 15 years ago, that was true when social media first came out. But let me just tell you something, and here's the stats. Your organic content is reaching about 1% to 2% of your fans and followers. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they're suppressing your reach and only showing a smidgen of people what you post. I have 5,000 followers on Facebook. Maybe if I've got a really good video, 3 or 4% of them will see it. A video with lots of likes, lots of shares, that one will get 3 to 4% exposure. My normal posts are getting about a 1% exposure. So I think I'm talking to the masses, but in reality, my post is being shown to maybe 50 or 100 people. That's because Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram are private corporations, and they have to satisfy investors. And to satisfy investors, they have to sell advertising. So their sold advertising gets precedence over what you are posting organically. That's a fact. Yeah, Michelle. Wow. Those are the facts. So you think you're using social media in a cost-saving manner. You've got a couple hundred followers or even a couple thousand. You think you're promoting your business. In actual fact, you're not. What you've got to do is migrate your social followers over to email, and then you got to send really good content, well-crafted, intriguing content that makes people want to stay on your email list, that makes people want to open your email, to read your email. And where are you going to get this email list? You're going to have to advertise. You're going to have to put a lot of content out on social media. You ready for how often I'm going to be posting on LinkedIn organically? 15 times per day. How do I post 15 times a day? I've got to hire assistant. I got to pay for technology. I've got to put in a system. I've got to have a strategy. All those platforms and that assistance and that creative work to repurpose my videos and repurpose my podcasts as well as share them over and over and over costs money. And that is what it's going to take to win the game. If you think that posting once or twice a day about your business to a few people is going to grow it, it's not going to grow it. You are going to have to spend either a lot of time, which is money. It's your money. I don't know, how much are you worth an hour? $25 an hour, $50 an hour, $500 an hour? I don't know. What's your going rate? So every time you spend an hour on social media, that's a cost. So if you're worth $50 an hour and you're doing 2 hours a day, you're spending $2,000, aren't you? Or why don't you get more intelligent about it and build a team and get smart about your content, get smart about the distribution, get smart about how to use the algorithms and the advertising platforms in your favor. That's what you need to be doing. So if you're not getting results from social media, and I hear this all the time, I've tried social media, it doesn't work. Dude, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. The arrow and the bow and arrow work. It's easy to blame your tools and go, I'm a bad hunter. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, email, this is where the fish are. And as my father would say when I grew up, when he'd take me to Montana, Eddie, fish where the fish are. Give them the bait that they're going to bite on. If you fish where the fish are and you give them the bait that they want to eat, you're going to catch a fish. But if you suck as a fisherman, don't blame your pole. Don't blame the lake. Don't blame the fish. That's what bad fishermen do. They blame their tools. They blame the environment. A well-hatted, a competent fisherman knows where to fish, when to fish, how to fish, and what the fish will bite on. That's what makes a good fisherman. It's also true of marketing. If you want to catch more fish, i.e., customers, you're going to have to become competent with the tools. You're going to know how to use your fishing pole, called social media. You're going to have to know how to use bait, called content. You're going to have to know where to go and what kind of fish you want to fish, called customers. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not succeeding with social media and content marketing, it's because, to stick with my analogy, you suck as a fisherman. I have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in new business through social media and content, which has resulted in positions in companies that will make me millions of dollars. That's right. I currently make hundreds of thousands of dollars from social media that will then turn into opportunities that will make millions of dollars. So when people tell me I just can't, make money with social media, I'm just going, you're a bad fisherman. You're not willing to execute. You're not willing to learn. You're not willing to spend. You're not willing to do the homework. You're not willing to put in an intelligent, concerted, and consistent effort to mastering where the people are. 90% of Americans are on Facebook on a daily basis. I want you to get that. Hundreds of millions of Americans are on Facebook today. YouTube has more viewers than any other single news channel, broadcast station ever. It's bigger than the BBC. It's bigger than MSNBC. It's bigger than Fox News. YouTube is the new Hollywood. Influencers on social media, influencers on YouTube are making more money than some celebrities in Hollywood. So there's people making money and there's people building brands on social media. And if that's not you, I can tell you right now, it's your own unwillingness to change. It's your own unwillingness to adapt to this environment. And it's not going away. It's only going to become bigger and more prevalent in the lives of your potential audience. If you're not there, like, you're irrelevant. You are a dodo bird on the extinction list. That's where you're at. If you're not building your brand with email, content, social media, paid and organic. That's just the truth of it. That's just the truth. So if you were looking to grow your brand, hey, Ryan, thanks so much for that positive thing. I'm glad that I was able to add value to your life today. And thank you for tuning in to Growth Driven. Guys, there's no way around it. You are going to have to debunk this lie, this social media lie that it's free. And by doing free things, I'm going to carve a path to financial prosperity. Well, if I in any way can help you grow your brand through content, through email strategies, social strategies, whether it be organic, whether it be paid, there's a right path for you. There is a right strategy for you. But if you're confused, you're overwhelmed, you don't feel you have the time, the intelligence, the capacity, the team, the whatever the resources that you feel you lack, I would love to help. And if I'm not the right person for you, then find somebody who is. Partner with somebody, collaborate with somebody, co-brand with somebody. There's a lot of great content creators out there that you could be working with. And if you get with the right content creators and you build the right collaboration and the right team, I can tell you right now, you're going to go so much further by doing this than by resisting how the world now works. This has been another edition of Growth Driven. I will see you soon.